Welcome back to the channel. I am so appreciative that you've come by today. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. So today we're going to talk about a nice little cross-section of comic books and role-playing. Usually I talk about one or the other, but today let's go for a combo and let's get a little more excitement between both of them. So today, should tabletop RPG publishers plan on doing ebooks and comic books based off their IP? And IP, of course, is intellectual property. So let's talk about that. But before we do, let me introduce myself. Hello, I am Lewis Porter Jr., and this is my channel where we talk about all fun things, comics and RPG related. A lot of people have started to develop their own campaign settings in tabletop games and have done very well, but the piece that always surprises me that people do more of is doing ebooks and getting into comic books. We'll talk about, I guess, one of the premier companies that's done it, I'd say, very, very well. That would be Paizo. Paizo introduced Pathfinder, got a lot of interest off the game on that aspect, and people liked it, and they built a really good story behind the actual campaign world. And then they started putting out ebooks, and they're doing the small little ebooks. We're talking short ebooks. And funny enough, I got into learning about ebooks in the mid to, I'd say, late 2000s. There are a lot of people talking about doing ebooks, and Amazon was selling ebooks online, how you can make a lot of money doing it. So I got a little interested in it and just wanted to get some of the background and understand it better. So it really gave me an opportunity to look at it. And for myself, I did it also for my own campaign setting, Neo Exodus. But looking at what Paizo did, they really, I always had an advantage that most people didn't, because they started out in a very different way. They started out doing books that were already in public domain, repackaging them, and then generating money off that, and then moving on to their own books, which is kind of a smart idea. I mean, if the books are already in public domain, you can just repackage them, make them a nice book, and just put it out, and you can maybe make some money off of it. Maybe not a lot, but if you keep your costs low, you can make some money, and it might be worth it. And for them, it was. And then one of the things that I really liked they did is they put a lot of their ebook stories online every week, like little sections of a story. So if a story had like 6 sections, section 1 through 6 each week, and that got people interested in looking at it. And then they put that stuff together maybe in bigger books or putting it out on Amazon to purchase, because that's another weird thing that I've got to admit is kind of interesting. You could put your book online for free at your blog, but people will still pay money for it. Why that is, I don't know. But it seems like the people want to support you. And most of these ebooks, are 99 cents. And my mindset is it's a good price point. It's a good way to get in. It's a good way to get people interested. And it doesn't cost you much. And Paizo has a big enough fan base that they could easily do this. But if you're a small company starting out, it can be expensive. I know when we did our first ebooks, we have 5 of them, I believe, if my memory serves right, for Neo Exodus. And they were expensive to do, relatively speaking. I mean, they were books. They were just words on a paper, but we actually got the first ones were actually just trial people friends who'd written. Nobody super serious, but then we got Eric to write them. Eric Scott DeBie. I always mess up Eric's name. It's D-E and B-I-E. Isn't that DeBie? I guess it would be. So Eric wrote the last 3 we did, and it's just one of those situations of, if I probably could have done it longer, I think we would have put more stuff out. It was just a cost effectiveness. And people were reading it, so people seemed to like it, but there weren't enough people reading it. And we even put it on my blog. We still got some fans that way, and we've sold a couple through drive-through books. But has it been a lightning super? No, of course not. But do I think it could be? Yeah. I think if you can build that fan base and you get enough people, you can get that little piece of lightning in a bottle. And this also, looking at Paizo, for example, of this, they started doing that, and then they went into comic books. And I think comic books is that next bigger step. While books are easy, they're easily digestible. I mean, let's be honest, you can put a book on one of these. Hey, Lucas. People are going to read them everywhere. Comic books still the same thing, but I don't see comics going from this exactly. I think comics are still different enough that people want to read books. But I could be wrong. But here's the question, should you try it? And I'm going to say, yeah, you should try it, of course. You can spend a little money on it, test out what you're going to do, and even better, it just helps build your world for what you're trying to do for your company. it's not a bad idea to try, but I would say make sure you don't go overboard, because it can be easily a situation where you can spend a lot of money in this area and not get as much money back in profit, and also enough feedback. Plus, knowing what I know now, and of course using it for other projects, I would have actually spent more time developing several books instead of, like we did, I think 3. And looking now, I'd be like, I would think I would have done 10. And it sounds crazy. It's like, why would you do 10 when you had a problem with 3? 3 was more about the money at the time that we had. If I had any kind of brains, I would have had 10 set up and just taken them out really, really slowly, one at a time, small little pieces, bits and pieces, just to build that kind of base. But you need kind of a regular setup where you can release product where people get interested in it. And if you can't release enough product where people can get interested in a regular time, it's tough to do that. I mean, if I had done, 10 of those, we figure each one has at least 4 to 5 sections each, so that's 50 sections. That's 1 section a week. So that's a year's worth of content. Now, would I have made back my money? I don't know. But would I have built a fan base? Yeah, because there are people who are always looking for something new to read. And if you can give them something that's new to read, that's good. And they can come back to it and they say, ooh, this is pretty good, I like it. They're going to tell their friends about it. And you can build that fan base. And you can do, videos to build that kind of stuff. But I know for myself, it was tough to do. That's one of the disadvantages of being a single person publisher and a single dad. You don't get as much time as you'd like. So you got to pick and choose what's the thing you're going to do. So it's tough, but I think it is very feasible. And I think the comic book aspect, even more so when you get to a certain level. I mean, Paizo has done comic books written by Jim Zub, who we all know. I mean, Jim Zub is also a gamer and a comic book writer, and also an instructor in Canada. So I think they picked the right person to do the right work on it, and it just really helped them out by growing their IP. And that's kind of what we're all really doing. We're trying to find ways to grow our IP. I mean, yeah, everybody wants to create a world, but that isn't the end-all and be-all. I think people want to keep building onto it as much as they can and helping themselves out in their company in the long run. So, just some thoughts. So what do you think? Do you think that, maybe you should do some ebooks? Have you done some ebooks that maybe it didn't work out the way you thought, or even better, it did work out the way you thought, and you want to go into comic books? Do me a favor. Put a comment below. Tell me what you think, and I guess we'll go from there. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all later. Hey, thank you for checking out my channel. Do me a favor, check out my other videos, and if you like what you see, subscribe.